It's Sunday, June 23rd, 2023, and it's another beautiful day. It's wonderful so far. It's just before 11 a.m., and it's really nice. It's just a really nice day. One of those days that makes you feel privileged to be on this side of the sod, anyway. But anyway, I'm going to talk about something now again. I've been talking about a lot of things that are probably controversial and that a lot of people won't like, and maybe this will get me into some trouble. I don't know. But I was watching a YouTuber this morning. He's actually local to my area, and he discusses local things, but also there are often things that resonate anywhere you are. But anyway, this fella, his channel is called Dwayne's World. And anyway, this fella, he has a lot of common sense. He curses a bit and stuff, but he has a lot of common sense anyway. And he actually finally, I heard somebody put it into words, how I feel about what's going on, and I think how a lot of people feel about what's going on with all the pride stuff, the LGBTQ, whatever, rainbow crosswalks, all that stuff. And I think he summed it up well, because he had said, he has friends who are homosexuals, who he loves, no issues with them at all, thinks highly of them. And he caught somebody doing some damage to one of the rainbow crosswalks downtown here, and he and his son attempted to apprehend the guy. So he certainly isn't hateful towards homosexuals or anything like that. But what he said actually resonated with me, and it got me to thinking. And it gave me the idea for this video, because I think it sums up how I feel, and it sums up how a lot of people are feeling right now. And it isn't because we hate this community or anything like that. What he said is he loves football. He just loves football. It's his favorite entertainment. He could talk about football all day long. He knows everything about it, and he loves it, and he watches it religiously. Loves football. But he said, how sick would you be of me if every time you saw me, all I did was go on and on about football, and it was just constant? You get sick of it. And he said that's basically how he feels about all this pride stuff that we're seeing. And I think that's how I feel too. I had trouble putting it into words, but it kind of reminded me. Years ago, I had a friend who was a big New York Islanders fan. This guy just loved the New York Islanders. And if you went to his house, especially the basement of his house, I don't think his wife would have let him take the whole house over with New York Islanders stuff. If she would have done that, I'm sure he would have done that. But the basement area was his to do as he pleased with. And that place was a shrine to the New York Islanders. That man had autographed jerseys and hockey sticks and a set of lockers to come out of their stadium, photographs on the walls, posters. The whole area down there was like a religious shrine, but to a hockey team. And if you went over to his house, he never missed a game. If you went over to his house and there was a game on, he'd invite you in to watch the game with him. But he'd say, oh, come on in, I'm watching the game. Come on down and watch the game with me, He just loved the New York Islanders. Now, there's nothing wrong with that as far as it goes. And I mean, he could tell you the life history of every player who ever played for the New York Islanders. He could tell you all the statistics, how many goals each one got, how many assists each one got, all that stuff. What position they played, and on and on, what years they played. Did they win any Stanley Cups? I don't know if the New York Islanders have ever won a Stanley Cup, because I don't follow sports, but if they did, he could tell you what years they won and who all was on the team and everything. But he was a well-balanced person. You could talk about all kinds of things with him. And I mean, he didn't talk about hockey with you unless you wanted to talk about hockey. And I mean, he wasn't out decorating all the public spaces with New York Islanders stuff. He had it all in his basement there, which was his area that he could personalize to his interest. And it just so happened his main interest was the New York Islanders hockey team. He loved that hockey team. Now, I guess the point I'm trying to get at here is, for a lot of us, it's getting to be too much. I mean, imagine now if we were living in a world where everybody was required to love the New York Islanders. And if you went into any public space, it was full of New York Islanders flags, and they had New York Islanders symbolism painted on the walkways and the walls and stuff. And you were required to love the New York Islanders. And, every television program had to have at least some connection to the New York Islanders. There had to be at least one character who was connected somehow with the New York Islanders. And they always had to bring in references to the New York Islanders into every TV program. And if you were dare to say, well, really, I'm not an Islanders fan. I'm more of a Montreal Canadiens fan, or a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, or whatever, a Detroit Red Wings fan, or whatever. I mean, if you did that, imagine if you couldn't do that without risking losing your job, being kicked out of school, going to jail. That's actually a possibility now with this stuff that's going on. And imagine if that's how it was. Well, you go from being indifferent about the New York Islanders, if you don't care about, for me, I don't care about them either way. I don't hate the New York Islanders, nor do I love them. I couldn't care less about them. I don't wish them any bad luck, but I don't really care about them either. But I mean, I go from that to hating the New York Islanders if I was constantly being beat over the head with New York Islanders propaganda. Now, I accepted when I went to that particular person's house, I was going to see New York Islanders stuff, and I didn't care. He was a friend of mine. I was happy to visit with him. He was a good guy. I didn't care that his basement was full of New York Islanders stuff. I thought, well, it's his basement. He likes the New York Islanders. I mean, I like old cars. When I had a house, I had a lot of old car memorabilia in my house. Now, I didn't have a wife to tell me I had to contain it to one area, so it was scattered throughout my house. But, I like old, Dodges and Plymouths and Fords and Chevs and Pontiacs. I love old Pontiacs. Old 40s and 50s Pontiacs are probably my favorite cars in the world. And I'd have all kinds of stuff, because I owned old cars too. I've owned and driven old cars from that era. And so I had different things from my old cars, little bits and pieces that I had saved, chrome pieces, ornate script and things like that I had saved, and all kinds of things that I had from my old cars. I had owner's manuals, shop manuals, old advertising for cars, all kinds of stuff. I had Matchbox cars, some of them were ones from when I was a kid. My mom threw most of my Matchbox cars away when I was 6 years old, but there were a few that were in my lunchbox that I'd taken to school. And I managed to keep those anyway, and I still have those. They're in my storage locker now. But the thing is, this is the stuff that I had on display in my house. And because that reflected who I was. Now, I don't expect, that the entire downtown of this town, close to where I live, should just reflect my interest. I don't expect that they should have old car flags hanging from the street lamps, and, and I don't expect that society should be completely geared around old cars. But see, the thing of it is, I expect my right to like old cars and to take an interest in them to be respected, but I don't expect to be allowed to force everybody else to like them and take an interest in them. And I certainly don't expect it to be a situation where I can have you fired or expelled or jailed if you don't take an interest in old cars, or if you say, well, really, I don't like old cars that much. I think new cars are better. I don't think I have a right to put you in jail for saying that. We disagree, that's all, but, I respect your right to disagree. I'd uphold you in that. If somebody were to say, how dare he say that? He should go to jail for that. I'd say, why should he go to jail? He's expressed an opinion. You know, he's allowed to have an opinion. You know, just like I am. I think old cars are good. He thinks they're not. Each of us is entitled to our opinion. But here's the thing. It isn't a matter for people like me of hating the LGBTQ, I don't know how many letters and numbers there are now, but you know what I mean. It's not a matter of hating these people. It's just a matter of being sick of being beat over the head constantly with a big gay dong. That's what it is. So keep your gay dong to yourself. Or if you find somebody who's like you and who likes your gay dong, well, then share it with them. But don't, you know, I shouldn't be required to like this stuff or to be right into it or whatever, because I'm not. I couldn't care less. And actually, they should be glad that people don't care, because the real issue years ago, the reason the gay people were persecuted like they were, and they were persecuted, they had plenty to complain about at one time. But the reason for that was that people were taking an interest in what they were doing. People were making what gay people were doing their personal business, and they were taking it upon themselves to punish them for it, to try to stop them from doing it, and so on. You know, they should be glad that people are disinterested. You know, really, that's not a bad thing. That's what you want. If you're a gay person, you want for people to be disinterested. Trust me, you do. You don't want people to care about what you are. And I understand it's not the entire community. In fact, now we're getting a lot of them now are speaking out against all this stuff. And they're saying, okay, guys, reel it in. Like, you're taking it too far and you're causing issues. People are starting to hate us now, again. And so, anyway, so, you know, there are a lot of people who are gay who are recognizing that this just isn't a good thing. It's gone too far. You know, like, leave the people alone. Let them be themselves. They're letting us be ourselves. Let them be themselves, and let's all just get along. Which I think is great, and I applaud them for that, and I agree with them 100%. And I don't hate those people. I really don't. I wish them well. I mean, I am a believer in God, and I know what the scriptures say about the practices of homosexuality. But I also know that God says that He will judge. It's not for us to judge, and it's not for us to take it upon ourselves to punish people. I mean, we can judge in the sense that we can have discernment, but we can't judge in the sense that we have a right to persecute or punish people. And the thing is, we're all sinners too, and sin is sin. We just sin differently, that's all. So, you know, let's not forget that either. It's hypocritical for us to take it upon ourselves to punish gay people or transsexual people for being what they are, because we ourselves commit sins. So, again, even if you're a believer in God and you believe in the Bible and all the rest of it, that doesn't give you a right to persecute or abuse another person on the basis of you're going to punish them or something. You know, that's God's job to sort all that out, and God will sort it out in His own time. And each of us has plenty of stuff to answer for anyway. So, even without that particular sin. So, the bottom line is live and let live. You know, stop beating us over the head with what you are. We really don't care for the most part, and that's a good thing. We shouldn't care. It's none of our business. Anyway, that's it. Thank you for listening to me. Like I say, I may get into some trouble for this. If I do, I do. It is what it is. Anyway, regardless of whether you're mad at me or not for what I've just said, I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye-bye for now.